They called him the Prince of Darkness, but today the light of love shone on Ozzy Osbourne as Birmingham said goodbye to its most famous son. The world watched as rock's most enduring family came together for one final bow to the man who changed music forever. But this wasn't just another celebrity funeral. This was a deeply personal goodbye that revealed the true Osbourne family behind the reality TV cameras. Today, I'm taking you inside Ozzy Osbourne's emotional farewell, from the touching family tributes that brought everyone to tears, to the surprising celebrity guests who crossed musical divides to be there, and the meaningful fashion choices that honored Ozzy's legendary status while breaking traditional funeral conventions. But first, let me share something few people noticed about Sharon's arrival that speaks volumes about their extraordinary relationship, a detail that explains why she managed to stand tall despite visibly breaking down moments later. Family arrival and first moments. Sharon Osbourne's approach to the Black Sabbath Bridge revealed everything about her state of mind. Dressed in a structured black Alexander McQueen blazer with subtle metallic threading, a nod to Ozzy's love of stage costumes, she initially appeared composed, almost stoic. But watch closely as she sees the sea of tributes left by fans. That slight pause, the momentary closing of her eyes. This is a woman summoning every ounce of strength. Kelly Osbourne, her vibrant purple hair subdued with a black headband, never left her mother's side. Their hands remained intertwined throughout, a physical connection that seemed to transfer strength between them. Kelly's choice of a vintage-inspired dress with Victorian mourning elements wasn't just fashion. It was a statement about honoring tradition while staying true to the Osbourne aesthetic. Jack Osbourne, now a father himself, showed a new maturity as he physically supported both his mother and sisters. His traditional suit was accented with a small bat-shaped pin, a subtle reference to his father's infamous on-stage moment that only true fans would recognize. Meaningful tributes. But it was the moment Sharon reached out to touch a handwritten note from a fan that broke the composure. "You saved him so we could love him," it read, a recognition of how Sharon's intervention decades ago gave Ozzy the years that made him a legend beyond Black Sabbath. The family's decision to view public tributes before the private service speaks volumes about their understanding of Ozzy's relationship with fans. As Sharon later explained, these people aren't just fans. They're part of why Ozzy fought to stay with us for so long. What many missed was the small silver cross Sharon wore, not a typical choice for her usual style. This was actually Ozzy's, worn during his sobriety journey, now carried by Sharon as a symbol of the battles they fought together. Amy Osbourne, often the most private of the Osbourne children, made a rare public appearance, choosing a tailored black dress with vintage pearl buttons that belonged to her grandmother, connecting 3 generations of Osbourne women in one poignant fashion choice. The Osbourne family's public appearance revealed a side of them rarely seen on television, vulnerable, united, and deeply appreciative of the public's love. But what happened inside the cathedral showed just how far Ozzy's influence reached across the musical world. If you're finding this journey through Ozzy's farewell moving, make sure you're subscribed to see our upcoming special on the Osbourne family's most defining moments, including rare footage Sharon has never shared publicly until now. Rock royalty arrivals. The guest list at Birmingham Cathedral read like a history of rock and metal, spanning 5 decades, but with surprising additions that showed Ozzy's influence went far beyond his genre. Tony Iommi arrived first of the original Black Sabbath members, his signature all-black attire now serving as appropriate funeral wear. The guitarist who created the sound of metal alongside Ozzy chose to wear their original band logo as a small pin, the only adornment on his otherwise somber suit. Geezer Butler's arrival minutes later created one of the day's most poignant moments. These childhood friends from Birmingham, now in their 70s, embracing outside the cathedral where they once skipped Sunday school together. But it was the arrival of musicians from seemingly opposite ends of the spectrum that showed Ozzy's true legacy. Elton John, in a customized Gucci suit, with subtle purple accents, Ozzy's favourite colour, arrived alongside Post Malone, whose collaboration with Ozzy introduced him to a new generation. Female icons pay tribute. The female icons of rock and entertainment arrived in force, each bringing their own tribute through carefully chosen attire that balanced respect with rock sensibility. Stevie Nicks, at 77, commanded attention in a flowing black ensemble with silver embroidery that caught the light, reminiscent of her stage wear, but subdued for the occasion. Her signature shawl was replaced with a more structured cape featuring subtle batwing elements, a tasteful nod to Ozzy's imagery. "Ozzy and I came up in different worlds of music," Nicks shared briefly with the press, "but we both understood what it meant to create your own mythology. He was always kind to me when others weren't." Debbie Harry of Blondie, striking at 80, chose a black suit with subtle leather accents, bridging punk, and metal aesthetics. Her signature platinum hair was styled in a more subdued version of her iconic look, and she wore vintage Tiffany cross earrings that once belonged to her mother. Annie Lennox arrived in a dramatic black coat with architectural shoulders that paid homage to both traditional morning wear and the theatrical elements of rock that she and Ozzy shared. Her single piece of jewellery, a vintage silver skull brooch, was actually a gift from Ozzy himself after they performed together at a benefit concert in 1989. "He gave me this and said, 'Now you're officially rock and roll,'" Lennox recalled with a sad smile. "I've treasured it for decades." Perhaps most surprising was the arrival of Dame Judi Dench, whose friendship with the Osbournes began during Sharon's time on British television. At 90, Dame Judi wore a classic Burberry coat with a subtle tartan lining, but pinned to her lapel was a miniature bat brooch in black diamonds, a gift from Sharon years earlier. "The Osbournes taught me never to judge a book by its cover," Dame Judi told reporters. "Ozzy was one of the kindest, most genuine souls I've ever met in this industry." The arrival of these female icons, women who defined their own paths in entertainment just as Ozzy did, showed how his influence crossed every boundary in the industry. Their fashion choices spoke volumes about both respect for tradition and celebration of individuality. Before we continue with the service itself, take a moment to share your own memories of Ozzy in the comments below. Which of his songs or moments first connected you with the Osbourne family's journey? Musical tributes. Inside, the musical tributes defied traditional funeral conventions. Rather than somber hymns alone, Ozzy's final request was honoured, a cathedral choir performing a hauntingly beautiful arrangement of Changes, the Black Sabbath ballad that showed their range beyond heavy metal. But it was Kelly Osbourne's unplanned moment at the podium that brought the cathedral to tears. Originally planning only to read a poem, she instead sang the opening lines of "Mama, I'm Coming Home," a song Ozzy wrote for Sharon, before her voice broke and Jack joined her to finish the verse. Melissa Etheridge delivered a stripped-down acoustic version of No More Tears that transformed the rock anthem into a soulful farewell. Her choice of a tailored black velvet suit with vintage silver buttons honoured both the formality of the occasion and the rock heritage being celebrated. "Ozzy never cared about labels," Etheridge shared afterward. "He just cared if you were authentic. That gave permission to so many of us to be ourselves." Fashion statements of rock legends. In a world where celebrity funerals often become fashion runways, the attendees at Ozzy's farewell chose meaningful over flashy, each outfit telling a story about their connection to the man and his music. Sharon's final outfit change before the private burial revealed her most personal tribute. Over her black dress, she wore Ozzy's own leather jacket from the 1980s, oversized on her frame but perfectly capturing their relationship. She had always carried his legacy, and now she literally wrapped herself in his memory. Patti Smith, the godmother of punk at 78, arrived in a tailored black suit with a vintage men's waistcoat, bridging eras of rock rebellion. Her only adornment was a simple silver chain that once belonged to her late husband, Fred Sonic Smith, connecting two rock legends now gone. Ozzy understood that rebellion isn't just noise, it's truth-telling. Smith noted quietly. "We came from different sounds, but the same spirit." Chrissie Hynde of The Pretenders chose a black leather jacket similar to ones she wore in the 1980s when her band toured with Ozzy, but with a custom embroidered O on the sleeve, subtle but meaningful. At 73, her signature fringe was now silver, but her rock stance remained unchanged. Among the musicians, a pattern emerged that spoke volumes about Ozzy's influence. Metal icons like James Hetfield and Dave Mustaine wore traditional suits, but with personal touches. Hetfield's custom cufflinks featured tiny crosses inspired by Ozzy's jewelry, while Mustaine wore a tie clip made from a guitar string used during their 1980s tour together. Next generation and fan tributes. The younger generation of artists showed how Ozzy's influence evolved. Billie Eilish's all-black ensemble featured subtle bat imagery in the lace pattern, a respectful nod to Ozzy's infamous moment while staying true to her own aesthetic. Perhaps most touching was the uniform choice among Ozzy's longtime roadies and technical crew. Each wore their original tour passes from different decades as lapel pins. These were the behind-the-scenes people who rarely get recognition, but who Ozzy always credited as the ones who really make the magic happen. The most powerful fashion statement came not from celebrities, but from the thousands of fans lining Birmingham's streets. People of all ages wore their vintage concert t-shirts. Some faded from decades of wear, others passed down through generations. This wasn't just merchandise, these were uniforms of belonging. As the private burial concluded, Sharon made one final gesture that perfectly captured Ozzy's spirit. Rather than leaving his grave with traditional flowers, she placed his favorite leather wristband on the memorial. A small personal item that represented the man behind the legend. Ozzy Osbourne's farewell wasn't just about saying goodbye to a rock icon. It was about celebrating how one man from humble Birmingham beginnings changed music forever while building a family that redefined what strength looks like. Through tears and tributes, fashion choices and musical moments, the Osbourne family showed us that behind the reality TV chaos and rock star headlines was something much more powerful. An enduring love story and a family bond that even death cannot break. As Sharon said in her final tribute, "He was never just the Prince of Darkness to us. He was our light. And today that light continues to shine through the family he built and the musical legacy he left behind." For those who loved his music, his humor, and his indomitable spirit, Ozzy isn't really gone. As the cathedral bells played the opening notes to Paranoid as the family departed, a special arrangement approved by the bishop himself, it was clear, legends never really die. Thank you for joining us for this special look inside Ozzy Osbourne's emotional farewell. If you'd like to see more coverage of the Osbourne family's journey, make sure you're subscribed and let us know in the comments which Ozzy moment meant the most to you.